Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing about the theory of division of labor, which is given by David Emile Durkheim. So let us start. So till now we have actually covered the theory of religion, the theory of society, in which actually the Durkheim has explained his methodology. But theory of division of labor was actually his first major work, and till now he has not actually developed his methodology, and that is the reason that his methodology is not displayed in his this theory. So till now we have covered all these parts, and this is the last theory of Durkheim which we have to study. So after this, tomorrow we'll be discussing the questions and in detail the answer writing format and the thought framework in which you have to answer the questions related to Durkheim. So let us start with the theory of division of labor. So Durkheim wrote the book The Division of Labor in Society, also called the Social Division of Labor. So this was his doctoral thesis and his first major work, which got published in 1893. So his methodology, as I already mentioned, is not manifested in his this work. It is a speculative work. Why it is speculative? Because it is based on common sense rather than carefully collected empirical data. It is based on common sense. He has unlike in the theory of society, let's say, or in the theory of religion, he relied on some data to arrive at conclusions, especially in the theory of society. So in this particular theory, he has not taken into consideration any particular empirical data to derive the results, but it is based on common sense, and that is the reason that I'm calling it a speculative work, right? So in this theory, what he was doing is he was responding and trying to understand the changes with the rise of capitalist industrial society in Europe, looking at both positive and negative aspects right from the beginning. Comte Spencer, not only sociologists but economists like Adam Smith were describing the rise of industrial society as a consequence of division of labor. This was the pre-existing thoughts in the market. He was not the Durkheim was not the first one to talk about division of labor. There were already some economists who was talking about this idea. So but Durkheim was not happy with the way the economists had explored the consequences of division of labor in society. The way was not satisfactory as per Durkheim, because he considers that the ways has been explained, or the consequences has been explained only in the terms of uh, economy only. So uh, Adam Smith, the classical economists like Adam Smith, saw the consequences of division of labor in economic terms only. Increase in division of labor leads to greater efficiency and productivity, is what they said. So this was the term which is prevalent in the market, that increase in division of labor leads to greater efficiency and productivity. Till now, I consider that you have not been able to get a sense of what I am talking about. So let's rewind it. So first of all, I talked about that this theory of division of labor is nothing, just a speculation. It is not based on any empirical data. This was the first point I mentioned. And second thing is that the Durkheim is trying to look at both the positive and negative aspect of what the classical and neoclassical economists have already established the views about division of labor. So first of all, let us simplify what is division of labor we are talking about. What is this division of labor? See, division of labor is a process in which complex activities are broken into a series of simple tasks and rationally divided among the members, and that each member is performing the simple task repetitively. I know this is also a little bit complicated. Let's take example. For example, cooking. Cooking is a very simple example. So you need to cook the things. What you'll do, you'll wash the vegetables, you'll chop them, cutting them, putting in them in a vessel to cook, and then you have to make the chapatis, you have to make the rice. So these are the chores and works you need to do for cooking. But what if you divide, or you know allot the different tasks to different people? For example, one person is given the task to wash the vegetables, one person is given the task to chop and cut the vegetables. So in this way, don't you think they will specialize in that task? One person is just washing the vegetables. He'll gain expertise in washing the vegetables. He will be able to wash them quickly, efficiently. The productivity will rise, and also at the same time, the quality, of washing the vegetables will also improve since he has experience in the same thing. So this is what is division of labor. That when you divide a complex task, a whole task into simplified tasks, and each task is given to a particular member or uh, the person, and the person becomes specialized in that particular task. This is what is division of labor. For example, in a company manufacturing shoes, one is polishing, one is stitching, one is cutting the leather. So this is how our modern industries actually work. We are specialized in one particular area. Take the examples in medicine. Earlier, there used to be only a vet, which is a person who cures the injuries of every kind. But in today's scenario, we have a heart specialist, we have a neurologist, we have a specified doctor for a specified kind of disease, right? So this is division of labor, that a particular task is divided into simple activities and a person is specialized in that particular activity, and this is the concept of division of labor. So the pre-existing idea, what the classical economists have said, that this DOL, which is referred to as the division of labor, leads to greater efficiency and productivity. So this was already determined by the classical economists like Adam Smith. And the neoclassical economists said, who are neoclassical? Neoclassical, neo means new. New, new in the sense that they are describing, they talked about the uh, ideas, old ideas in a revived or a new context. Hence, they are neoclassical economists. These are generally who followed Alfred Marshall. So neoclassical economists talked about the concept of comparative advantage. So before we discuss what is comparative advantage, I hope this is clear that what is actually a division of labor. So we are actually now discussing what is the not present actually, but what was the take of classical and neoclassical economists about division of labor in the society. Then we will, the Durkheim is trying to analyze the current or the existing ideas of classical economists, and then he will derive his theory and he will comment or criticize or whatever he wants to, further study about this. So what neoclassical economists said, they talked about the concept of comparative advantage. So what is comparative advantage? It is nothing but division of labor at an international level. So according to neoclassical economists, let the country make products which they can specialize in, specialization country by country. For example, if India is having a good black cotton, it has a good scope for textiles. So it can, specialize itself into the textile industry. And similar way, each and every country who have good resources about it, who have the ability to specialize in a particular thing, should specialize in that particular product or service, right? In this way, each and every country will be specialized in something, and the quality will improve, the productivity, efficiency, and prices will also be affordable since efficiency is going to increase. So then further the economist says that there should be free trade, and then only we can ensure that the products are offered at the best quality and affordable prices. So this was the concept of comparative advantages. This is nothing, just a DOL at the level of interaction. So no need to go further diving into this concept of comparative advantage. This much understanding was enough to understand Durkheim's theory. So this is what classical and neoclassical economists said about division of labor. So classical and neoclassical economists had something in common. What? They viewed the consequences of division of labor in economic terms only. They're just focusing on the profit, efficiency, productivity, and that is what all they are, focusing upon. So, but this is not something Durkheim wanted, as we already know from his previous studies as well, that Durkheim always focuses on a sociological perspective and a societal aspect of everything. So He considers division of labor as a social fact. It is a social fact. So, one thing we know that similarity between these two are the consequences of dual in economic terms only, but Durkheim resisted. So Durkheim rejects such a narrow and purely economic interpretation of DOL. For him, division of labor is a more fundamental phenomena having ramifications for the society. So he considers that this economic interpretation, this analysis of division of labor on society on the basis in economic terms only is not satisfactory, is not sufficient. For him, what division of labor was a more fundamental phenomena, a social fact which has some impact on the society, which impacts the society. So this was his take. So in fact, increasing specialization in the economic sphere itself is a consequence of a general social difference. So, what is a general social difference? See, division of labor is not something which evolves suddenly. It was it existed very long away ago. What happens is, for example, the simplest social differentiation is, for example, taking into consideration the age and gender. For example, a young child is not able to do all the chores an adult can do, right? So he'll be given simpler tasks which he can perform. And the major tasks, he will be given tasks which are of helping nature. The main task will be done by a person who is competent enough to do is adult, let's say, and a child will be there to help. So this is, a normal division of labor, that the division of labor on the basis of age. So this is general social differentiation. And the child will specialize in that particular thing only. For example, a mother is cooking in the kitchen and her child is helping her in that. So he'll cook the vegetable, but he can ask the younger one to just cut the vegetables or wash the vegetables. So this is a general example. Don't take it too much, regarding the concept. But so in fact, this increasing specialization in the economic sphere is itself the consequences of social differentiation, right? So workers would not be able to perform specialized tasks unless general social differentiation enables them to acquire specialized skills. So this here, what is the point is that when when you're given a choice to decide a stream, for example, you let's say take science as your stream in class 11. So that is when you're going to specialize in that particular area only. So the society gives you an opportunity to work in that specialized manner only, and then you will not be having a knowledge of commerce, obviously. So that is the thing, that workers would not be able to perform the specialized task unless they take the you know uh, uh, they acquire those specialized skills. Correct. So this is the point. So thus Durkheim addresses himself at a more basic level. He explores the consequences of division of labor for the society as a whole. So he, explores the consequences of dual in societal aspect rather than just economic aspect, which already the classical and neoclassical economists have described about. Right. So what holds the society together is cohesiveness or the solidarity among the parts of the society. So now he considers that DOL is a social fact, and we should, study it from societal or sociological perspective as well. So he considers, he first thinks what holds the society together. What is that thing that is, that brings a cohesiveness, a collectiveness, a solidarity among the people? So this is the question. So solidarity is nothing, just the social bonds, the cohesion, the unity within the society, the relation between each individual and the society, and the relation between the individuals as well. So the consequences of DOL, the division of labor, should be seen in terms of impact on social bonds. That how division of labor impact the social bonds. He says what pertains to total society is the phenomenon like solidarity. So we should prop the relation between solidarity and division of labor. Right? Next is how does DOL impact the solidarity or in other words, with increase of DOL, how individuals become more autonomous and more solidary? This is the question which comes in the mind. I think before starting this, let me just clear once again that how far we have reached. From the beginning, we discussed that Durkheim actually studied the prevalent ideas on division of labor of classical and neoclassical economists who viewed division of labor uh, consequences in economic terms only. Then he said, no, that it is not an isolated economic impact. There is some impact on the society as well. Division of labor is a social fact. In fact, in PYQs, if I remember exactly, this question was also asked that how Durkheim says that division of labor is a social fact. So in that, we will be explaining those points only, that how it is external, so all those points of social facts, right? So after considering this as a social fact, he moves on to find out the consequences of DOL on society. So first of all, he recognized what binds the society together is solidarity. So how can we study the impact of division of labor on society is through defining the impact of division of labor on the social bonds, on solidarity, on the relation between the individuals, and on the relation of individual with the society. So this is what is his perspective. So Durkheim probes the relationship between the division of labor and how solidarity comes about, right? So what stimulated Durkheim to ask this question was his concern with the fate of the industrial society of his time, which was the result of high division of labor and was at the same time marred by frequent upheavals. I'll describe this point later on when we'll discuss how the theory. So for understanding this concept of how division of labor impacts the social bonds, he has come up with two classification of society, which is small society and large society. Small societies are those societies which have low division of labor because there is low volume of population. There is low volume of population. So that is the reason that the societies have low division of labor. They are self-sufficient. Everyone knows everything and everyone knows the same thing. So they are alike. They are alike. So the tasks which people perform are simple so that they can learn each and every skill. Skills will obviously be simple because everyone can learn them. In such a situation, productivity will be low. Size of the group will be small. Such group can sustain only a few people. Such groups are isolated and homogeneous because everyone is alike. Everyone has similar set of skills. No one is different. For example, a cardiologist is different from neurologist. That is not the case in such simpler societies. There is one person and everyone knows how to cook, everyone knows how to build a hut, everyone knows how to do hunting, everyone knows how to cure a disease through like leaves or something. This is kind of society which used to exist earlier, or a primitive kind of society, we can say, which is a simpler society, which is a small society. So in such society, there exists a relation of direct cooperation. Everyone directly cooperates. So in such societies, what holds them together? Why people live in a society together? What is the reason of solidarity? So the reason of solidarity is the shared sense of likeness among the parts. What is this? The people feel like he is also like me, she is also like me, so they live together, that we are alike, we are having same kind of thought process or same things. So on that shared belief, on the basis of that shared belief, which we call as conscious collective, we have discussed earlier, is the reason of that cohesiveness or solidarity. That is the reason, and that is known as mechanical solidarity. Mechanical solidarity means the solidarity in which people are having cohesiveness in the society on the basis of the shared beliefs and thinkings and likeness among the parts, that everyone is alike. That is the reason. So the parts of society perform similar tasks. They tend to be alike. One part can replace the other part. Obviously, if everyone knows the same thing, one part can obviously replace the another because they have same competence. But in large societies, this is not the case. Lawyers cannot replace doctors. So this is will come on to large societies in a while. So till then, small societies. So in simpler society, everyone knows everything. So interdependence is low. Am I dependent on someone to hunt for me? No, I can hunt. Am I dependent on someone else to build a hut for me? No. I have all those skills which others have. And that is the reason that interdependence is very low. I'm not dependent on anyone else, right? So this is the scenario of a simpler society in which we consider that solidarity or cohesiveness is due to the likeness among the parts or the shared common beliefs. So people are united because they're of same type. So the main concern in such society are the preserving the likeness among the parts. Conscious collective envelops the individual conscious. Engulfs the individual conscious means that conscious collective is very strong. Everyone are having the same shared beliefs and individual interests are subordinated. Individuals are subordinated in the society, right? So all the behavior is regulated by the society. So we identify four dimensions of conscious collective in terms of which he looked at the society in low division of labor. So the first one is volume of conscious collective. So volume is, we have already discussed that low volume of population was there. So individualism is at its lowest. Individualism is, freedom to be unique, freedom to have a particular behavior by an individual. So freedom is this, individualism is this aspect. So volume we have discussed. Next is intensity. Intensity is every violation of conscious collectiveness is a criminal act. For example, taking a simple example, caste system in Haryana, when one person marries a person from another caste, that is actually which is not permitted by the conscious collective or shared beliefs of people, and that is the reason that it is considered as an offense. So people are ready to punish those for this reason. So these are penal in character. Laws are penal, repressive. They punish the people for such tasks and deviating from conscious collective. Repressive means that the purpose of law is to prevent the reoccurrence of an act. So the act should not be repeated. For example, lifelong imprisonment given, death sentence. So that these are the kind of punishments or penal through which the law are repressive. They want that particular offense not to be done again, and that is the reason that they penalize in this way. So the laws are repressive. Next is determinateness, which I've already told that conscious collective is very strong in such kind of societies. So the rules of conscious collective are very specific, very concrete rules. For example, how sari is to be weared in a traditional way is something which is defined by the society very well. So these are very well defined. But in modern societies, you can wear a sari or anything you want, but the main thing is that you should not be inappropriately dressed. So that is the perspective. But in traditional societies, but in smaller societies, when conscious collectiveness is very high, the rules are well defined. The rules of conscious collectiveness are concrete and specific. Determinateness is very high in simpler society. So everything is led down by conscious collectives, and everyone has to follow that. So that is the determinateness in a simpler society. Talking about the fourth part, which is content. So content in a smaller society is overwhelmingly or largely religious, preeminently religious. How is the content religious? So content is, what is content? Content is what kinds of ideas are shared by people. So content is overwhelmingly religious or largely religious, meaning that every aspect is regulated by religion and the relations are obligatory. The relations are obligatory. Relations are obligatory, and the content is preeminently religious. So everything is determined through religion. For example, in fact-based society in some areas as well, dad's friend is considered to be an uncle or we consider aunt. So in foreign, they don't call them uncle or aunt; they call them by their name. So in traditional societies, they treat everyone they consider as a blood related or kinship type. They in a smaller society where there are few number of people, they consider them as blood related. They're not actually blood related, but a kinship type of system as well. In such a society, the authority tends to be absolute. When there are no restrictions on authority, authority is absolute. Authority is absolute. Authority tends to be arbitrary as long as it is in conformity with the religion. There are no constitutional limits on authority, right? So this is what happens in a smaller society, and these are the concepts of mechanical solidarity, right? So let's talk about the you know how does the society change? The slowly and steadily, these small societies change, evolve. They change. There is increase in material volume. Increase in material volume that leads to rise in mechanical density, that leads to increase in moral and dynamic density. I repeat my words. What I said is that slowly and steadily there is a rise in population, there is an increase in material volume that leads to rise in mechanical density, that leads to increase in moral and dynamic density. So social density is nothing, just the kind of population. The population size when increases, so there is a greater frequency of social interaction between the people, and that is nothing but the dynamic and social dynamic and moral density. So when this happens, it throws new problems, and a peaceful solution is division of labor. When there are when population increases, when there is high moral and social moral and material density, in that situation what happens is that people divide the work. When there are group of people working for the same task, they divide. So division of labor comes into the picture. There is increase in the division of labor, and that is how it ends up in a society with high division of labor. So in small societies were societies with low division of labor, but large societies are, sorry for the spelling mistakes and errors. So large societies are those societies which are having high division of labor. The division of labor is very high. So now roles are allocated on the basis of capability and achievement. So society becomes large and heterogeneous. Heterogeneous. Earlier, the society was homogeneous, but now the society becomes heterogeneous, where people are allowed to be different. They are allowed to pursue the line of action which suits their capability, their ability, their liking. People are governed by different, however, people are still governed by some laws, rules, and circumstances. Now, so the question arises in smaller societies, in primitive societies where people um, were alive. They want to or solidarity of the shared sense of life. But will solidarity is in such kind of society when everyone is different and the group is bigger? No. Solidarity still exists. Cohesiveness still exists. How does it exist? Due to interdependence of parts. Interdependence of parts. For example, you're a student and you're studying. Can you maybe you can cook the food for yourself, but you cannot grow wheat, right? That is the job of a farmer. So you are dependent on many people. A doctor needs a farmer because he wants to have wheat. The farmer needs a doctor because he want to have medical treatments or anything. So everyone is dependent on each other. And this interdependence is the reason that there is cohesiveness or solidarity in the society. Everyone is together because everyone needs each other. You cannot do all the work on yourself. You're not self-sufficient in your tasks. You have to depend on someone else. The pen you're using is manufactured by someone else. The notebooks you're using are manufactured by someone else. You're just paying for that and you're taking it. So you're dependent on someone for your task you are doing. Everyone is dependent on each other. So this is the reason that society is together. So such kind of solidarity in societies which arises due to the interdependence is nothing but organic solidarity. So the solidarity in smaller society was due to mechanical. So that was the reason it was called mechanical solidarity. But in present scenarios, the solidarity is organic solidarity of heterogeneous. Hmm. There is indirect cooperation. You do not directly cooperate to perform a single task, but you are indirectly dependent on each other. So that is why it is known as indirect cooperation. So when unlike things are done separately, that is indirect cooperation. Everyone is doing their own task, but they're indirectly dependent on each other and indirectly cooperating towards each other. So they perform different kind of tasks. In such a society, the role of conscious collective. The conscious collective shrinks. It is progressively declining. Why? Conscious collective kya tha? Conscious collective was the shared beliefs. They were the shared beliefs, sentiments. But in a heterogeneous group where everyone is different from others, how can be their shared beliefs? There do exist some shared beliefs, but the those shared beliefs will be fewer. So the conscious collective is declining, it shrinks. Volume are high. Everyone though had some shared beliefs, but these were fewer. So this is where the conscious collective shrinks, and you are to allow the member to autonomy. So the commonness becomes fewer. What is good for a doctor may not be good for a lawyer. So this commonness is on decline. Hence, the conscious collectiveness is declining, and this is what the point I've mentioned here: the declining conscious collective. Its role becomes progressively smaller. Right? The volume of population increases, the material and moral density. What was material and moral density? The greater frequency of social interaction. Earlier, people don't there was low moral density because people didn't interact much because they were self-sufficient and everyone knew what every other person knew. But in this scenario of a heterogeneous group where everyone is specialized in a particular task, everyone needs another person. So the material and moral density, they interact more, is higher, high interdependence. Right? So volume increases, there is low volume. This is first dimension actually I mentioned to talk about it. Second was the determinateness, that in such kind of a smaller society, conscious collective was very strong and fully engulfs the individual conscious. But in such kind of societies, the determinates become generalized. Generalized, because I gave an example of that in a traditional society they determine how to wear a sari, but in this kind of society they will not specify any particular way. They will give you an autonomy to wear whatever you want, but the common shared belief will be that you should not be inappropriately dressed. That is the point. So that determinates become generalized. It is a general thing, right? The conscious collective becomes general rules. The conscious collective becomes general rules. And the intensity जो यहाँ high थी, that decreases. The intensity decreases. And the content of conscious collective also changes. The content of conscious collective is now secularized. Earlier, it used to be more religious based. Everything was determined on the basis of religion, that what religion says. But now it is more secularized. The secular beliefs emerge. So the conscious collective gets secularized. That is how there is a change in the content of such kind of things. Further, the relation becomes contractual. Contractual relation. Earlier, it used to be an obligatory relation, but now it is a contractual relation. For example, one person wants to sell the potato and the other one wants to buy the potato. That is, you cannot bind someone to sell and you cannot bind someone to buy. It is their own discretion, their own choices to enter into contract for buying and selling. So this has now become a contractual thing. All the market relations are contractual. Earlier it used to be obligatory and now it is contractually, which is governed by the individual freedom of choice to enter into a particular contract. However, it should not be forgotten that even the contractual relations are also governed by the conscious collective. When you enter into a contract, it is a promise. For example, if you enter into a contract of selling oranges at something, let's say rupees this, then you are making a promise to the buyer that you will sell the oranges at this price. You must adhere to it if you have entered into the contract, and that binds you. So conscious collective does exist. Do not forget that in a organic solidarity or in large societies of heterogeneous group, the the conscious collective is not there. It is, but it is not that much as it used to be in the smaller society. It gets reduced, weakened, or more in a secularized form. Now the positions are based on the occupational roles and not kinship. Kinship declines its importance. Constitutional limits are there in authority. Earlier, it used to be an absolute authority, which could not be questioned. Everyone had to follow, and if anyone tried to deviate from that conscious collectiveness, they were, punished, penalized by the laws that were repressive. But now, in this scenario, the constitutional limits in authority have been set, which gives a rise to democracy. Democracy becomes unavoidable based on based on it. So authority becomes restrictive. In such a society, law tends to be restrictive, not repressive. Law tends to be restrictive, or law of restitution. Restitutive law means it simply tries to restore the status quo. For example, if you have stolen someone's good, you have to return those goods. It is not a repressive law that to ensure that you do not do this kind of stealing again. You are not actually sentenced to death. So that is what is law of restitution, that you will just return the goods to that person of whom you have stolen the goods. So it is restoring the status quo. So this is law of restitution. So restitutive law has special organs, tribunals, and councils. So this was what happens in a smaller society, and in large societies, how societies, increase in volume and increase in moral, what we call as moral density, and then how division of labor impacts the society and how everything goes. So we have discussed it till so far, and I think this concept is clear till now. So in such kind of society, we are able to understand that changes are allowed. But in such society, changes are not allowed. See, if you just deviate from the conscious collective, which is nothing but shared beliefs, if you do something else which is not commonly shared, then you will be punished. But in such kind of society, changes are allowed. You can pursue the line of action you want to specialize in based upon your interest, abilities, and capabilities. Right? So this is what is organic solidarity, where individual is given more autonomy, individual is related to each other rather than directly related to society. the relation between the individual and society has changed. It does not mean that individual becomes selfish and egoistic. It does not mean that individual has become now self-centered. But the morality conveyed by generalized conscious collectiveness is still there, which is a cult of individual or moral individualism. Moral individualism or cult of individual. He says that with organic solidarity, the degree of solidarity will be high. So bases of unity are built in the very nature of relation. So what he says is the relation between DOL and solidarity, that whenever there is high division of labor, when there is high division of labor, that the tasks are divided, there will be huge interdependence and there will be high organic solidarity. And when there is low division of labor, as we saw in smaller societies, there will be lower social cohesion and there will be mechanism. This is the summation of the discussion we have done in the previous slide. So the division of labor thus contributes to both the cohesion of society and to the expression and freedom of individuals. So this is a wonderful line, that DOL, division of labor, contributes both to the cohesion of society. There is high solidarity, and at the same time, the individual has more autonomy as compared to this situation. Doesn't this situation seem very favorable? It seems now ki when there is high DOL, everything is in line. Like we have high solidarity, we have high cohesion, we have more autonomy and freedom at the same time at the individual level. But as we discussed, that Durkheim was operating in a situation where there were problematic situations, but that was a situation of high division of labor. There existed high division of labor, but still there was disorganization. So this was a question: why so much violence when there is high division of labor? There should be high solidarity. Everything should be in cohesion. At the same time, offering a freedom to the individual. So this was the question in the mind of Durkheim, that why there is conflict and disorganization in society, which are having high division of labor. So what happens is, he says that the above discussion of division of labor and solidarity and the conclusion that there will be high solidarity in situations of high division of labor is a normal context. It is not something abnormal, it is not pathological. So he derives this conclusion that the above description was what ought to be. What the reality is something different from what ought to be. What ought to be is that if there is high division of labor, then there should be high solidarity and there should be no violence at all. But there was violence. The reality was different from what the study told you. So he said that this is true, that high division of labor leads to high solidarity, but this is a normal scenario. This is the normal type of division of labor. There exists some pathological, some abnormal type of division of labor, due to which there is conflict and disorganization. And what are these? These are anomic form of division of labor and post division of labor. Let me give a brief of anomic and post division so that everybody. Anomaly we have already discussed. Then when there is deregulation of rules, when there are no laws, I have already told you that there should be some basic level of laws that should govern the society. If that laws even are not existing, then this creates a situation of anomaly. When there are no rules, it will create a chaos. So that is anomaly. The forced division of labor will come on later. Let's first discuss what is anomic form of division of labor. Right. So the essence of idea of anomy as applied to economic behavior is that relations between men or groups of men engaged in commercial and industrial enterprises are devoid of regulation by shared moral beliefs. Like, what does it mean? That they are devoid of regulation, they are devoid of rules. There are no rules, there are no specifications, regulations. So by accepting the existence of classes and regularity of the class conflict, that leads to class conflict. So there are no rules, there are no regulations. That is the reason of class conflict. So class conflict for Durkheim was manifested in a series of disputes and clashes, which resulted from the absence of agreed limits or insatiable appetites of manufacturers or entrepreneurs, as much as in the unlimited desire. So what this point says is that everyone has unlimited wants. Since there are no rules, no one can govern you, no one can stop you from making your own choices, making profits for yourself. And workers will having the unlimited wants, and the upper class or the entrepreneurs, the manufacturers will also having a desire to completely exploit the worker, or completely exploit all the resources and make the maximum profit out of the given resources. So both of these will be working towards their own goals, and there will be clashes in their individual goals. And that is where the dispute rises, where the class, when there is a clash between their unlimited desires, because there is no law governing them, no rules, no regulations to govern them. So here he regards that trade unions are replacing individual selfishness with collective selfishness. Trade unions are nothing doing better in this regard. This is something that when individual worker wanted to have a maximum profit, and a trade union collectively want that maximum profit. This is the difference between a trade union and an individual worker. The greeds, the greeds, the selfishness, the unlimited wants are same, but the level has changed only. It was earlier at an individual level, now at a collective level or a group level. So since competing representative groups could not overcome the anarchy of the economy. So this was economic form of division of labor. That labor was divided in workers were doing something, entrepreneurs were doing something. They were moving in their particular direction with their own particular goals, which were in clash with each other. And this is economic form of division. Individual greed was replaced by collective greed, however, but this is what leads to class conflict. So the solution, what is the solution now? The solution is restoring normative rules, corrective of community, mutual concern, there should be a point where both the people who are conflicting should agreed upon a point where they both agree. So that is important. So what he has suggested about it is he has not only discussed about the problem, but he also has also come up with some suggestion that there should be healthy work environment, replacement of rules by power by rules. Sorry, replacement of rules by power by rules of law. And what he says is the most important point is that there should be institutions, professional institutions, which create a code of conduct and a work ethics which determine how to work. Like there is association for lawyers, there is association for doctors, there is an association, a professional association for chartered accountants. So every specialist, every specialized person, this is division of labor now. Then each worker is working in a particular direction. Each one is professional is something. So these professionals are controlled or are suggested a code of conduct, a work ethics through an association or an institution. So the formation of such institutions is very important, which specify the code of conduct. Code of conduct means how should the professional or specialist conduct himself. So this is the solution he has talked about. National laws should be compatible with the individual ones. Then anomy will be controlled and the conflict will decline. So this was the economic form of division of labor. Next is the forced division of labor. Forced division. When there is a force, a coercion applied on some people for division of. So Durkheim discusses the socially structured inequalities that undermine solidarity. He's talking about the rules which are unjust. According to Durkheim, society with high division of labor should be truly meritocratic. Basically, rewards should be connected to merits only. There should be equality of opportunity for all. But what happens in the existing society? That class inequalities restricts the opportunities of lower class and prevent the realization of their abilities. For example, a young child is born in a family of very poor. He'll not be able to, for example, he has an interest in medicine. So he cannot pursue his career in medicine or in doctorate because he actually cannot afford to go to a particular school or institution for that specialization. He has skill, he has interest, he has ability, he has capability, but the class inequality is preventing him to realize his ability because he belongs to a lower caste. So this is post division of labor, that to survive, to feed his family, he may have to work as a labor in some factory or the other. So this is post division of labor. This is, posed on them. So in such as in Anomi, we discussed that there was problem of lack of rules, but here the problem is not the lack of rules but the excess of them. The rules are so hard. The rules have arisen to enforce the division of labor possibly. Individual specialization and occupations are not freely chosen but forced upon each person by custom, law, and even sheer chance. So what I chose to be is not determined by my own ability, interest, or merit. It is based on some customs, laws, and it is determined by different circumstances and by sheer chance. So this is what he says, that everyone is not given the equal opportunity to excel or specialize in the field they want to. There is what the modern people called as anomy of injustice. There is injustice. He says that there should be a creation of equality of opportunity when everyone is given the equal opportunity, that he can specialize into the field or he can pursue his the line of action he wants to. This is what he says. For example, the right of inheritance. If a person is born in a very rich family, the son may have the talent or not, he gets the property of his father. So this is the right of inheritance. He can inherit the facilities and the money his father has earned. So this is the right of inheritance. So this was according to Durkheim is not fair. This is not fair. He says that there should be equal opportunity and those resources which are earned by a person should be given back to the society. And each and every person should be given equal opportunity, and there should be meritocracy, which is rewarding oneself on the basis of the merit. If one has talent, he'll be able to learn more and specialize. So it should be based on abilities and not inheritance. For example, Ambanis have wealth a lot. So that wealth is carried on by further leniency. So this is something which Durkheim says that should not be there. All forms of hereditary privileges, that all privileges that one has due to the hereditary, should be abolished for this to be possible. There cannot be rich and poor at birth, he wrote, without being unjust contracts. This also brings us to the idea of socialism, which is socialism, sorry, which is minimal equality for. So this is what Durkheim said. So this was his theory of division of labor. I hope I have been clear throughout. If you have any queries, you can just mention in the comment section as well. I'll try to address each and every query there itself.